Good evening and welcome to the Checkdown Podcast. I'm your host, Robert Lopez, along with my co-host, Roy Swan, producer, Julio Ramirez. We got some special guests in here tonight for you guys. Former Super Bowl champ, Greg Randall with the New England Patriots. And we also have Patrick Wiltz. He's a South Houston director for the Texas Youth All-Star Showcase. How's everybody doing tonight? Solid?
I'm good.
We're good?
Pretty good.
Roy, you good? Still stunting?
Hey man, you can't announce us around Greg like that, man. You gotta announce him and then say the two other people. It's just two other
Everybody
people.
just clear the room.
Right?
How's everybody doing tonight? We're still stunting on this ring right here. Let's get a closer look at this. Good with that?
Man, I'm trying to.
That's what you work for right there. You start football, that's what you work for. And you start baseball, you know how that goes.
Don't mind me, man. I'm just sharing this everywhere. So what y'all think about that Super Bowl this weekend, man? Look at this.
Oh.
Look at this. Did you pick the Chiefs, man?
I did.
It cost me a lot of money, man.
You picked the Chiefs?
I did. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, man. I don't think you
I
picked
did.
the
I picked the
Chiefs.
49ers. I picked the 49ers.
I think Junior and I were the only ones that picked.
Yeah, they did. The Chiefs. Junior's, he'll be here after a while. He'll be here to flaunt. How was everybody's weekend?
Good, man.
Great?
Good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. What did you guys think about the Super Bowl? Real quick, we'll touch on that.
Shanahan let me down two times in a row.
Two
man.
times.
Second time.
Here we
That's
go.
the second time, man.
Here we go.
What do you think?
Dude, the man didn't do nothing wrong. All y'all people need to get off of it. The man can't play the game. Was he in Richard Sherman's uniform?
But why are we passing the ball? You gassing him for
He
6
did
yards.
not. He did not. See, this is why y'all don't be watching. This is how I know y'all don't watch the game. First down, he ran the ball 99% of the time. Second down, it was play action pass every series.
But why are you play action?
That was his game plan. When he was winning 20-10, it was first down run, second down play action pass.
But
So
predictable though.
it probably did get predictable but with 9 minutes left in the game. So let's look. All right, the series that's in question, right? They go and get 6 yards on the first play. They go get 6. Then they get 12 yards on the next play. He comes back and he does what y'all want him to do, run. They only get 1 yard. Okay? The next down, he does what he's been doing the whole game. Play action. It's 2nd and 9. Right? You run again, you get 1 yard, you 3rd and 7. So he play action, incomplete. All right, so it's 3rd and 9. Now his damn lineman false starts. Is that his fault? Now it's 3rd and 14. His quarterback can't get him that.
But the problem is, a couple of years ago, he was up 25. Ooh. He got conservative.
Facts.
He got up, did the same thing again.
So
Same results.
I got a question. Go ahead, Pat.
And not only that, man, they made 2 bonehead plays on defense.
Bonehead.
Dude, it's 3rd and 15. Why are you pressing?
Is that Shanahan's fault?
It's not, but I mean, he just.
Hey, you know what? As a head coach,
as a head
coach, the blame's always going to be on him, though.
Robert, it's not the Pasadena Panthers, man. This is the NFL. It's everybody getting paid millions. Them people getting more money than him.
But why are you pressing? Everybody's been taught, don't let the man get behind you. And what did you do? He put a double move on you.
Yeah. Thought his cones
for
was
42 yards. They only needed 15.
You can't give up 42 on 3rd and 15.
So
you can't. I don't know. That's the D coordinator fault. Fire the man. Can't keep blaming Shanahan though, bro. He has no offensive weapons. Who is more hurt? The last time, at least he had weapons. The last time he had Julio Jones, Matt Ryan. He had a squad. This time he went in there with
but
the
that ain't no
bump
excuse.
posse.
Them same people got you there.
True.
Yeah,
They got you there. It ain't like you had 10 injuries right before the Super Bowl. Them the same people that you've been riding with the whole year.
So real quick, are you still sticking by your word? Kelsey's better than Kittle?
Yes.
You agree with that?
Yes.
I don't.
Switch him.
I'm now Kelsey is a great tight end. I think he's second best. They're neck and neck, but I think, dude, Kittle was in on every single play.
Who else they got to throw it to?
No. His blocking was phenomenal.
Okay.
If you go back and look at all his blocking, all the plays that they made, he was in those plays, making those plays happen.
I can't say he's not a good blocker, but another thing that's a misconception about the Super Bowl is that this run game was so phenomenal. 60 of those rushing yards came off of end-around run plays with the receiver.
Debo, right.
True, yeah.
The rest of that rushing was not that great. The run game was big gashing plays off of end-around.
That was a big-ass dude, too.
So we can't make it like they just ran it downhill at these
But
people.
I guess what I'm saying, you up by 10, the clock on your side, use it.
Did y'all fire the last 3 coaches? Because that means O'Brien got to go. Who the coach in Tennessee? He got to go. Vrabel got to go. All them people came back on, bro.
But that's Vrabel first year. Shanahan, this is second time. This is second time.
Dude, 2 times? I'm going to call him Mike. Or
Double digits.
I'm going to call him 2 times from now on.
Hey, man. I got your back, Shanahan.
But as
bring me over there to
but
the
as far as
49ers.
Kelsey, he ain't been more consistent than Kelsey, though. So it's hard to give him a title of the best after 1 year.
Bro, the Kittle, they doing everything in their power to make sure Kittle open every play because he they weapon. They don't got
there
nobody
was
else.
okay. So do you think that the Chiefs just got after Garoppolo, or do you think that the pressure got to him? No, not I know like not the pressure from the defensive line. I'm saying was the moment too big for him?
I don't think that.
I don't think it's too big.
I think it was.
I think he became predictable, and the defensive coordinator figured him out.
Oh, boy was nervous on the sideline. Mahomes looked relaxed.
The last game was a championship. He only threw 9 passes.
I think he only got
That's a
like.
little league
I mean,
quarterback stats.
but I mean, it's hard to throw any more passes if every time you got to think that dude broke 7 times for 50+ yards.
Little league
They
quarterback
got
stats.
2 pick sixes.
Little league quarterback.
9 attempts.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you another thing. They screwed my boy over.
We shared it.
They screwed my boy over on that pass interference right before halftime.
Oh man,
That's a big 3 or 7 points that they about to get right there.
that's momentum as well.
Now, if we're going to talk about Shanahan's coaching, and we're going to get back to this because we got to call Coach Dowling.
Yeah.
But Shanahan screwed up right before halftime, not calling timeouts.
I agree.
When the Chiefs weren't moving the ball. And then he gets the ball and runs it twice with like 30 seconds left. And then they mess around and get a bunch of yards, and then now you want to call timeout.
I agree.
So he should have been calling timeout to get the ball back with a lot of time left because, you could have scored points there. You get 3 there, you get 7 there, and it's a different ball game.
Jason Garrett would have called timeout.
No.
He'd have been clapping too much.
We would have been down 30-0 by that point.
Maybe
Already.
more.
So,
We'll
yeah,
make
man.
Coach down the call.
You gonna call him? So we about to call, man, the legendary
legend.
Rusty Dowling, man, my high school coach. Greg probably played across. Was Coach Dowling the coach?
Yeah, he was out there.
Yeah. So
I think
Greg
they beat us pretty good.
That's sarcasm. They did not beat Greg. They probably blew Texas City out while you was there, man. I used to read the newspaper when I was like later in school and see how Lamar used to do us, bro. It just used to be embarrassing looking at the newspaper. Like from like 80 to like 96, it was just bad. We might have won one time.
Come back full circle. Just look at it now.
Some questions right there. If we need them. Yeah, that was unfortunate, man. Him not calling those timeouts. It's crucial. Did you guys think it was a pass interference at the end of the first half? I know he extended his arm a little bit, but
Me personally, the only reason why I feel like you shouldn't have called it, you ain't been calling it.
Yep.
So why call it then?
yeah.
You
Yeah, you didn't call it against
Rudolph.
Minnesota with
Rudolph, yeah.
You did. So I feel like you gotta let it go then. You can't let it go in a game that really I ain't gonna say meaningless, but
It's not as big
and
as
then
it
call it in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, that was a big deal because that cooked the Saints.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
That touchdown cooked the Saints.
But what I'm saying, it wasn't in the Super Bowl though. So and if I'm mistaken, that catch put them in field goal range too, though, didn't it? It wouldn't.
Oh yeah.
It'll put them in field goal
They
range.
have
So-
what about 27 seconds left?
No, it was 6 seconds left.
6?
Okay, I know why. You know why I
knows
know?
everything.
Because I had 3-0 on the board, and if they kicked the field goal, I was gonna get back to 3-0.
Shit.
So,
We're good.
Coach Dowling,
What's up?
what's up, Coach? Man, good to have you on, man.
How you doing, Coach Dowling?
I'm doing good. I'm doing well, fellas. Thank you.
Thank you
How
for
you doing,
calling.
Roy?
I'm doing good, Coach. Man, can't complain. I got a lot of guys looking forward to seeing what you got to say tonight. A lot of guys you might know.
I just saw you about 4.5, 5 months ago at the reunion.
Yes, sir. It wasn't that long ago, man.
How was that? How was that, Coach? Going back.
That was great. What's especially satisfying about that is just to see, because some of those kids I hadn't seen in quite some time, and just to see them growing with families and talking to them about what they're doing with their lives and everything else was incredible. That was really, really eye-opening. I was telling my wife on the way home, I said, man, this bunch, they've done really, really well. So I was real proud of them. It was great to see them all.
Yeah, it was good being around the guys. We're gonna get into these questions, Coach. Are you around the players a lot? Last week we asked Coach Snelson, what was the difference in between the players now and the players 10 years ago? So we're gonna give you that same question. What do you think the difference is between the players?
Well, I'm not around the players as much as I used to be anyway. I still maintain a lot of contact with high school football coaches, some college football coaches, and some of the players. I still get around that. My own opinion is I don't see personally a big difference with players within the last maybe 10 years. I think the things that influenced players 10 years ago are still some of the same influences we see now. But now, if you ask me the difference between players 20 and 25 years ago, there are some significant differences there. And I think a lot of the things that are out there that high school age kids right now are exposed to is so much different now than, well, Roy, like when you were in high school. It's a little bit of a different world out there right now. And so players are in a different world. Social media, that's real big. So I think some of the similarities are the same, but you can find some differences at different times though. So within the last 10 years, not a big difference that I noticed. The last 20 years, yeah, pretty good size difference.
So, Coach, during your coaching career, how many state titles were you a part of, playing and coaching?
Well, playing, I played on one state championship team. Coaching, of course, I had two. And then as an athletic director, when I was in Katy, we had 3 football state champions, and we had other state championships in soccer and track and field and tennis and some of the other sports. So between playing, coaching, and being an athletic director, I was real lucky. I got to be around quite a few of them. So
talking about your state championships, which one was the most difficult? I know there were some that you didn't have a hand in, so to say, but the ones at Texas City and Katy as an athletic director, which ones were the most difficult, do you think?
Well, the most difficult they were also the most rewarding, and that was coaching.
Of course.
As a player, when I got to play in state championship game, you get going, you're playing a game, and you don't really think too much about the negatives because you're having a good time playing. There's a big crowd, you're in a big stadium, you're playing football, and you're with your teammates and everything else, and also you're probably on a team that is very good, so your confidence level is very high. Coaches aren't quite wired that way. We stress out at everything, and as a coach, you just want to make sure that you've done as good a job as you can preparing that football team to get on the field, because if you go out there and you lose, as a coach, I would always reevaluate myself and go, okay, what did I miss? What did we not do to prepare these kids to win tonight? And fortunately in Texas City, in both state championship games we were in, we won. So that was a pretty good feeling. And then as an athletic director at Katy, I was more on the administrative side of preparing teams to get ready to go, making sure, everything was in place. Because a lot of what I did in Katy, when Katy High School was going to play in the state football championships, I would get with Coach Joseph, who was the head football coach at the time, and I would tell him, let me handle all the other stuff. You coach the football team at practice. I'll take care of everything else. And that's what I did, even booking the stadiums and, going to play where we played and doing all that. So, but there's no doubt coaching it was probably the most rewarding.
Hey, Coach, that losing thing, you didn't have to worry about that in '99. You didn't have to worry about that.
No, that's very true. In fact, I tell people all the time, when we went on the field that night to play Hereford, I tell people, I said that is probably the lowest amount or least amount of coaching I ever did, because once we got on the sideline, and as you remember, once the ball game started, we were in complete control the whole game, and it wasn't like that with the 97 Corsicana game, but certainly with the Hereford game, my job was just sit on the sideline and watch y'all play, and y'all played really well, and we ended up winning. So yeah, that's very true. 99, that is true.
So, Coach, as a head coach, as a coach, period, do you feel it's a coach's job to get a player recruited?
That's a really good question. Here's how I'll answer that. Probably years ago, back in the 80s and 90s when I was coaching, I felt like the coach had a major responsibility to try to get his player out there, because we didn't have the technology that we do today. So back in the 80s and 90s, getting a player recruited was hard, because you had to make all the film, duplicate all the tape, have it ready to go. When coaches came around to visit, they might want a certain game, and maybe not a game you had duplicated. So you'd go back there and duplicate a game for about 2 hours and give it to a coach so that he had it when he left. So it was a lot more challenging back then to get a kid noticed. You'd send out all the information you could on them, and you really pushed hard, because back then there weren't a lot of recruiting services, and there wasn't the technology that there is today. Today, a coach, a football coach at Clemson or South Carolina, he can sit in his office and watch a kid from Texas City at his desk, and he can just get on Huddle, get a Huddle account, get on there and watch the kid play. He can pull up all his stats. He can pull up his academics. So coaches can do, and they do a lot. They recruit right from their office, right at the university, and then figure out where they want to go, and then they head out from there for the most part. So recruiting is a lot easier today. I still think coaches have a responsibility to try to funnel that college coach to certain players, but too, with coaches nowadays, you got the head coach that has the time and the ability to meet with coaches, but the assistants don't, because they're teaching class all day and they're not available to those college coaches. So a lot of times when the college coaches come by, coaches aren't available to talk to them. So I think that's the biggest difference I see. It's much easier to get a kid out there. A college coach is going to watch you play on tape, because college coaches watch a lot of games. They watch a ton of games, and they may not actually be watching you when they flip the switch on Huddle to watch a game. But if you're a prominent player and you stick out, they're eventually going to see you. So it's not that hard to get noticed. It's what the coaches think of you when they notice you. And so that's where I look at it right there. So coaches have a responsibility, but it's just not as all-encompassing it was many, many years ago.
Coach, so I have kind of two questions for you. So right now, we're talking to a lot of guys, and the goal of this podcast is to help youth coaches, help the community, help the kids, help everybody, right? And one of the big things that came up last week was coaches helping kids in areas, grades or kids who have family trouble at home. I come from Texas City. You come from Texas City. Well, you don't come from Texas City, but you were in Texas City. We didn't always, all of us weren't coming from, two-parent, $100,000 households. So how would you tell a coach to, what advice would you have for these coaches to help deal with the kids with grades, help deal with things like that? And also, what advice do you have for the parents to, to better their relationship with these coaches?
Well, the one thing, Roy, that I used to do every year, and we did it at Texas City in our first 3 to 4 years, kind of before you came up and through. But in my previous stops, before I came to Texas City, what we used to do as coaches, we used to go do home visits like college coaches do. We found it very beneficial that we would actually go to the home of the players and sit and visit with mom or dad or both or whatever the case may be, and let them in their living room, let them have the opportunity to question us and ask us questions and establish that familiarity and establish that bond with the parents. And the one thing that we knew, once we had face-to-face contact with the parents and even other members of the family that might be there, we found that dealing with the parents and dealing with the student athlete was much smoother, and the relationships were a lot better. We could also talk about schoolwork. We could talk about grades. We could talk about anything that was pertinent to their young student athlete. And I'd always tell the parent, I would say to them, I don't know a lot about your son. Certainly not as much as you do. So what I need for you to do is let me know when there's things that are troubling him. Let me know if he's coming to school and he had a bad morning or something happened. I want to be aware of that before I see him at practice or before I see him in the hallway or at the field house or whatever the case may be. And we did that for many, many years. Once we got to Texas City and we had about 4 years of doing that, we got to know over the course of the time the parents. So we were able to minimize that. We didn't eliminate it, but we just didn't have to go to as many homes in the past because over the course of those years, we developed those relationships with the parents after so many years of doing that. So that's what we did to try to bridge that gap, because there's always a gap there. And that's how we did it, and it worked pretty well in Texas City. I will say that we sent out all the coaches, and we all covered the city, and we went everywhere to try to establish those relationships with the parents and talk to them about, like I said, all those things that I had mentioned earlier, and it definitely proved itself in Texas City. We know that in the early years of Texas City, it definitely made a difference for us.
Hey, Coach, so will the state game ever rotate from Dallas to Houston, San Antonio, or any other large Texas cities?
I wouldn't look for that to happen anytime soon.
Okay.
I wouldn't. I would love to see it in Houston, and but we had it in Houston one time. I think it was in 2015. No, I'm sorry. It was before that. In fact, it was still when I was the AD in Katy, and we played Wiley in the state championship, and it was in Houston. And the attendance wasn't very good overall.
Wow.
And it wasn't, and it was way below what normally happens in Dallas. The attendance in Dallas has always been very, very good. And the other thing too that is significant about going to Dallas is, and it's what people don't see, it's when you go to Cowboy Stadium up there, all the support facilities that they have underneath the stadium, underneath the stands, they have more locker rooms than I've ever seen. So teams can come in hours before the game, and they have a place to go. They have a place to set up. In Houston, that's not the case. You know, when we were when I was in Katy and we came down to play Wiley in the state championship, we had to locker in the media room. They didn't have a locker room for us.
Wow.
So we had to go locker in the media room. And that didn't go well. That didn't go over well. And fortunately, we won the game, so we were able to get by it. But that's one of the advantages that Dallas has. It's the stadium itself is very conducive to hosting a lot of football teams. They can actually get in the stadium, be comfortable, go set up in their locker room, and then if they're there 4 hours before the game, you know, they'll go up and watch whoever else is playing. So I think it's going to be very tough for them. And then too, when you look at it, you know, there's a number of teams that get to the state finals that are from up in the Amarillo, Lubbock area and out that way. Some of the smaller schools. Well, to them, Dallas is halfway between Houston and where they're at. I know when some of those smaller schools came down to Houston, it was one of the teams came down, I think it was Canadian. When they came to Houston to play, they had to stay overnight on the way down. They stayed overnight on the way down because it was such a long way for them.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, those are some of the nuances of why I'm not really sure. And the same thing with the Alamo Dome. The Alamo Dome's the same way as NRG. It's just very limited that way. Cowboy Stadium is not. It's very conducive to hosting a lot of teams like that.
Yeah, so Coach, I got one reason why that's like that, because the Cowboys are better than the Texans.
Well, hands down.
Here we go. Here we go. Hey, have y'all ever been in the stadium up there?
We have.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, it's tough to beat. It's hard. You know, the access in and out is easy. It's located in a great area. You know, it's very, very conducive to all those teams coming in, and you know, it's what, 4 days now? Well, actually, they start playing on Wednesday now. They moved the 6-man. They moved the 6-man over there, so they actually start playing on Wednesday through Saturday. And man, the crowds are, you know, incredible there, and the stadium people, they do a great job there. They really treat you well and do a great job. Because I even, you know, some of those people that are working at Cowboy Stadium, Roy, are the same ones that were working the night we played in Texas Stadium.
Wow.
There's the same people. I've met 3 or 4 of them that remember us playing there all those years ago, and they're working over at AT&T now.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting.
Well, Coach, you know, this is the last question.
Yeah.
It's a heat one. This is the
And it's been a topic of debate all day, man. I've talked to Irvis, I've talked to Tyrone, I've talked to a few people from that team, and I've talked to Charles on my side. So we're gonna let you answer it. Which team was better? So hold up, let me start by saying this. So, you know, nobody take this as disrespect. I grew up in '96. I went to every football game, everyone, home and away. I rode the team bus by myself. My mom gave me $10. I rode the team bus. I think I paid $5 to ride the team bus to Texas A&M. It was freezing cold, and I watched us lose up there in '96.
I remember that. By
myself, Coach. I sat at the top of at the A&M Stadium. Didn't have a parent, didn't have a friend, and it was freezing cold. So I got
cold that night.
all the
I do remember. Roy, do you remember who we played that night?
It was Grapevine, right?
No, you're close, because Grapevine.
It was Hayes Consolidated.
Bingo. There you go. Hayes
and
Consolidated.
And Hayes lost to Grapevine.
Wow.
Grapevine won the state championship, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If we would have beat Hayes, we'd have played Grapevine in the state final.
It was Hayes.
And
right outside of San Marcos.
Yeah, but so when we compare these teams, I think those guys sometimes they take it as a disrespectful thing. It's not a disrespectful thing, because I grew up watching those guys, so I got all the respect in the world for them. But
still gotta ask.
I grew up to be a state champion myself. So, I feel differently than Nathan.
Oh, man.
So, Coach,
Oh, man.
we're going to let you have it. Coach Dowling.
Yeah.
Which team
Yeah.
was the best Texas City high school football team, 97 or 99?
Well, I have an opinion, Roy. I do. I'll qualify that opinion by saying this. Each one of those teams had something significant. The 97 team was obviously the first Texas City high school football team to win a state title. That was significant. The 99 team was the very first team, the high school football team to go undefeated, ranked number 1 and win a state title. So my answer to this is I do have an opinion, Roy. But it's going to go to my grave with me, Roy.
That's a great answer.
It's good. Hey, I get some of my assistant coaches that ask me the same thing. They go, "We know you have an opinion, and we know you know who the best team is." And I said, "I do." I said, "But I'm taking it to my grave. Maybe I'll put it on my tombstone. I don't know, but I'm taking it to the grave because there ain't no way I'm splitting those two teams. There ain't no way." So that's my answer to it, Roy.
Yeah,
I know that's not what you wanted, but that's my answer to it.
Coach, I'm not going to lie. I'm glad you didn't answer it. I'm glad you don't answer that. Don't answer that question. I don't want anybody to answer it.
Jamie, well, a couple of the fellows at the reunion asked me the question. Jamie asked me several times, "Come on, Coach. Come on. You know who the best team is. Come on, tell us who the best team is." I said, "Jamie, I ain't going to do it. I'm not going to do it. No, you're not going to get it out of me. You might get a lot of other information out of me, but you're not getting that one. I'm not going there." And now that I live in Texas City, I sure as heck am not going to say that. So, that one's staying inside.
I got one more for you, Coach. What is it going to take for Texas City to get back to where they
are? Roy. Oh, man.
Putting it under the fire.
I know Abby's coaching. They got some good coaches there, and they got some good players there. It's so hard because I remember when we first came in to Texas City back in '91, when you were just a little guy. We came in '91, and I remember when I took the Texas City job, all of my coaching buddies told me, they said, "You're out of your mind to go to Texas City. That's a graveyard. You'll never win in Texas City. Never win in Texas City." And the first couple of years were tough. They were really, really hard. And then the third year is when we had that big upset win over Willow Ridge, when we finally beat Willow Ridge. That was a big game in '93. We were like 38-point underdogs, and we ended up beating them. And that was kind of what got us over the hump. And then things started to slowly go from there. But the thing about it is when things go south on you and your program goes south, it takes a long time to get it back again, a long time to get it back. And when the program went south at Texas City and we came in, it took a while to get it back, but we got it there. And I've been out and I've watched Texas City play a number of times. The one thing that I see out there is, it was just like watching your team play, and the 96 and the 97, the 95 and 94 and even 93 teams. I mean, we had some really good players. I mean, we had some tough kids, some good players, some size and speed, and and two, we had a great coaching staff. I mean, a lot of those coaches that have left Texas City went on to win state titles at other programs. And so we just had sort of a perfect storm at that time that happened with players that were coming up, having a great staff that utilized those players correctly. And two, I mean, y'all's attitude and y'all's vision and focus was just incredible. I mean, y'all were just so self-motivated that when you went on the field, when y'all went on the field, we just never really had any doubts that y'all were going to be successful. And the other thing too, and with a couple of those teams, they didn't really care who got the glory. That was the other thing. They just went out and executed and played hard and played tough and played physical and practiced well too. I remember we practiced well. So I think it's a combination of a whole lot of things that have to be put back together to get the Stingeries back to where they once were. And I'm hoping that's going to happen. I just keep my fingers crossed. So I don't have any magic answers. I just got a lot of wishful type things that I'd like to see happen. So we'll see. We'll see.
Last question, Coach. You get the call. You get the call next year, Coach Dowling. Man, we want you one season to come out and coach the Stings. One season. What do you say?
Not happening. Hey, Roy, I'll come back if you'll come back and play offensive line again. Okay.
I got 3 snaps, Coach.
Yeah, I'm good for about a half a practice, Roy. You know it. So no, that thing is that's not going to happen. No, not going to happen. I know Coach Cervic very well, and I want he and his coaches to do very well, and get the program back up to where it was, because y'all had it at a very prideful place. You really did, and it's been what, Roy, 20 years, and I was sitting in a meeting over in Austin talking to some other coaches and ADs, and it's amazing because when they talk about Texas City, they still associate me with Texas City, and they still remember Texas City as a big power. So it's really kind of flattering, really, and you all are the ones that did that. I mean, you all the ones that, put that program on the map. So I'm hoping they're going to get it back. I really am.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you calling in. Good talking to you always, and we'll get you back on, man, maybe closer to the season, and we can talk about some of the things that are going to happen in Texas football.
No, we can do that. I know that this is the 100th anniversary of Texas high school football in the state of Texas coming up.
Wow.
And the organization that I work for, the Texas High School Athletic Directors Association, we're part of the celebration of this. So we're going to do some events and some things in conjunction with the celebration of the 100th anniversary of high school football. So this is a pretty big season coming up. In fact, we're going to recreate the very first recognized football state championship game that was played in 1920 in Texas, and that was Houston Heights versus Cleburne. And we're going to start this season with a rematch of Houston Heights and Cleburne 100 years later. They're going to play each other as a celebration. So look for that. That's going to be a big thing coming up this summer, is getting ready for the 100th anniversary.
Sounds
good, Coach. Irvis Hill will let you go with this. Irvis Hill said he knew you wouldn't answer that question.
Yeah. Irvis knows me then. Yes, absolutely.
All right, Coach. Well, thank you again. You enjoy the rest of your night.
All right,
Thanks,
fellas.
Coach.
I appreciate the time to call. Let's do it again sometime.
Yes, sir. Definitely.
Okay.
Thanks,
fellas.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Hey, I got
Bye-bye.
a question, actually. Serious question. Just going off what he said. He said once a program take a dive, it's hard to come back from it. Katy has remained relevant for damn near the past 25 years. What are they doing different from everybody else to keep from going in that hole?
They got a pool to pull from.
But, and I say that because, okay, for a while you had Pearland High School. They was relevant for a while. Once they started adding schools, they pretty much took a dive. They started adding schools in Katy, and they still remain the course. If they wasn't in the state championship game, they was right before it. So I'm asking, like, what are they doing different from everybody else to remain?
They're growing.
Before you answer that, Julio, you wanna take it to break?
Yeah, I'm break real quick.
Okay.
We'll go to break. We'll be back.
That's a good question.